First of all, the Zealots have been put in the rightful place. That's at least what a lot of people think. They had a run. They all of a sudden got ambitious, and the experts said, you know what? We worked at this third spot for a long, long time. You go back where you belong. So that's exactly what they did, sending the Zealots back home without taking a map. But now, as Tim said, it's time for the good guys versus the Ducks. And especially with the Ducks, we're looking at a team that has done so well on paper when we're talking about, okay, the potential that they have, what everybody thought they would do, and then they started to struggle. But they showed a little bit of genius when they were going up against Fnatic at the end of part 1 of phase 2, when they were actually able to clinch out a victory. And also, last week, they actually looked strong. So if they can keep that up, they should have a good shot here. But of course, the good guys, they are desperate to get out of that last spot.
Both these teams represent the 7th and 8th spot here in our standings in Europe. Let's go ahead and look at the standings right now, just get an idea of where everyone currently is sitting. With the Playing Ducks with a 2 and 6 at number 7, and Team Good Guys at 2 and 8 in number 8 spot.
If the Ducks lose today, because they already lost to the Good Guys in before, if the Ducks lose today, then they already said, okay, if that happens, we need to start researching open division teams.
Yeah.
We need to start looking at the Crucible, and the chances of us making it out of it are slim to none. So we need to deliver today. So they definitely have a shot here. And it's just it's absolutely heartbreaking to see the Ducks struggle this much, considering the lineup, considering who plays in there and how strong they can be. The games that we've seen them play against Dignitas, for example, they looked so strong last season against Team Liquid. They had so many games where they just excelled. When it comes to the last final map, they seem to struggle. So today they need to change that. It's a direct competitor that they go up against, and they need to deliver.
That's something that's really hard to take in, the reality that you might be going to the Crucible, and our teams both today will be thinking about it. Let's go and look at the schedule here, get an idea of what exactly you will be watching on this Saturday. Later on, North America coming at you with Even and Death versus Superstars. Later on, Lag Force and Team Freedom. Zealot and Team Expert ended earlier. A nice clean 3-0 for Team Expert.
Yeah. And a very dominant 3-0 from Team Expert as well. So in this case, the score actually reflects the games. And I was well done by Team Expert. And they are already aiming again for that second spot in the standings, as they've been saying earlier. But Benny alluded to that. So they at this point seem to accept that Fnatic is just a little bit outside of their reach. But they want to go for number 2. And that's, of course, where Dignitas also comes into play again, since they are stepping it up recently as well.
Well, the Playing Ducks and the Good Guys have strived for greatness, but have yet to fully get there, falling flat left and right. But let's see if they can make it work today in their matchup, as they're going to share some words with you guys about what will be happening in the match today.
Team Expert is a great team, especially with their drafting. They did have a really bad series against TGG previous week, so we probably can take the series if they're still shaky. Otherwise, I think their best player is probably Athero. I also look up to him.
Just kidding. We're not watching Zarmany.
I love we cut off that.
Let's go to the right video. Right meow.
But I really like the turn of
game again. Playing Ducks, it's gonna be, I think, really intense, because it's obviously probably the most important match for both of our teams. And I mean, it's our main focus for this week, obviously. But we still want to take a win against Dignitas if it's possible. But we're ready for Playing Ducks.
This weekend we are facing the Good Guys, and this series is really important for both of the teams. Basically, whoever loses the series is really close of almost being 100% in the Crucible. So both teams should probably give 100%. I think either team can take it. They looked really solid last week against Expert, even against Trick. They also looked fine, even though they lost that series. We also had decent performance against Dignitas last week. So I think it's going to be a close series, and like I said, it's a really important one for both teams, since we both want to avoid the Crucible for sure.
Playing Ducks and you guys facing off, and the Playing Ducks completely correct here. They've had some great performances the last couple of weeks, but they gotta net those wins. That's where it's so important. We see them go to game number 5 very often, but they hardly ever clutch out the victory, and that's where they gotta pull it off today.
I'm still a little bit salty. Josh just shut me down there.
Josh just
Feels
shut
bad.
you down, man.
Yeah.
He's upset from the troll earlier.
Yeah, exactly. He's a little bit upset. It was payback time, but I give him that. So, coming back to the series at hand, as you already said, the Ducks, they need their results right now. And we heard Chris talk about it. He feels that both teams can take it. They looked strong in the previous games, but again, they need wins. It's not only about performing well and then in the end losing. You need to bring some points onto the scoreboard to make sure that you're slowly getting out of those last two spots, and it's going to be rough for them. The good guys had some impressive matches as well, namely, of course, the one against Team Expert last week. So today, this is going to be a highlight match for both of these teams.
That's right. Well, they need some wins, but they have some cheers coming in, as our teams currently have top 5 cheers for both of them. Look at that. Team Good Guys and the Playing Ducks Stoffel with the 11,500 for the Team Good Guys, and then Playing Ducks Lice 187 with 14,000 in the lead.
Yep, so far, both of the teams getting quite a bit of support here. The Ducks more so, I'd say. But the thing is with... Ducks are just like crushing me. For the good guys, you know, it's a team that has potential. They come into the Crucible, or from the Crucible into HGC, and you can really see how they improve from week to week.
Yeah.
At the beginning, they stated they underestimated a bit how much effort they have to put into their practice in order to keep up with the other HGC teams. So they started to slowly step it up, and you can really see it in the gameplay. But then you have someone like the Ducks that we've been talking about. Not only in Phase 2, they had a similar problem in Phase 1, where they just underperformed from what everybody was expecting. In Phase 1, nearly every single team you asked at the beginning of the season said, like, I think rank 4 is realistic for them, rank 4, rank 5, and all of a sudden they just like fall down the ranks. Now the same thing basically happens again, where everybody said, you know what, they have actually a shot of attacking the top 3. Where are they? Down on rank 7. So it's breaking my heart a little bit, but still, two teams going up against each other today that have both a lot of potential, have a lot of great players, that have been huge history in Heroes of the Storm. But which of those two teams is going to take the lead here?
Well, we'll talk more about that, but first, let's go ahead and look at our battleground here. Game number 1. It's going to be Infernal Shrines. Team Good Guys with the pick. Playing Ducks will get first pick. And the Playing Ducks have actually talked about that point that you were just bringing up. They mentioned one of the things that really they feel hurts them is that when they go into scrims, they have certain plans they run and they execute, and they do them well. But when they get into the actual live environment and have to play in the tournament, for some reason, something happens in draft where a new idea pops up. Things they don't practice suddenly come to fruition, and it always sets them back. Yeah. They've been doing a good job in the last couple of weeks of staying on track and going with the game plan, which is one of the major things you have to pull off in a tournament.
Yeah, that's first of all one problem that they had to solve and did. The interesting part I personally think it's really also with them very much, as so often, a bit of a mental issue, because I was talking to a few of them, and then what I immediately heard is that when they played against Fnatic, they won against Fnatic, and it was basically them not really preparing more. It was they prepared less, because they already said, well, it's our last game, we're going to lose this one anyways, we're going to play a bit, see what we can do here, but overall we don't expect anything, and then they win. And I think this is a pretty good indicator that it's a lot about pressure.
Yeah.
If you feel pressured every single series that you need to hyper perform and win the games, it can really just like shut you down. And we come back to our prime example, MVP Black going up against Fnatic at BlizzCon. Fnatic expecting to lose the series and then in the end winning it because they could play without overthinking things. And this is something that the Ducks have to learn now. But as we're starting into our draft, we already have a bit of a different approach to drafting overall. First of all, the good guys ban out Medivh, as they know that Sport Billy for the Playing Ducks has shown impressive performance on that hero, and of course Medivh is a bit of a game changer. But a first pick for the Ducks highlighting Vala here, which is interesting after we've been talking so much about ETC and Dehaka.
Yep, goes against what we've seen in our series the last couple of days here, the ETC and the Dehaka being out there. Team Good Guys will grab the ETC and the Rhaegar on their side. And now we've been talking about the Playing Ducks, but Team Good Guys themselves, talking to BKB for the interview this weekend, he just mentioned that, hey, we're a team that's really trying to come together. We're trying to push our limits. Our goals are to be great. We're just trying to find out what we're missing. Sometimes it's communication. Sometimes it's the draft. Team Good Guys is definitely a team with potential, but they still have a lot to work on. And week by week, I feel like we are seeing progress from them.
Oh, we definitely do, especially when you look at the games they had so far in Part 2 of Phase 2 and Part 1 of Phase 2. There's a huge difference there. When it comes to their drafting, I really think that it's interesting how highly they always prioritize Rhaegar. And I mentioned this the last time they played. Rhaegar is strong, but it's always either the first pick or part of the first rotation for them in all the games that we've seen in Part 2 Phase 2. And here comes Dehaka as a count. So for the global, on the side of the Ducks, we also have an immediate Uther being taken. So both of the teams starting off with a strong start into the draft. A lot of AoE available here. One of the maps where from the Ducks, I mean, potentially it's Chris that plays Vala. It could be Sport Billy. We have seen the two of them. But this is definitely... I'm curious about the build, because normally we're seeing from them arrow build highly focused. On this map, a multi-shot hybrid would make a bit more sense, though, if you're trying to focus on the objective.
Out of curiosity, what do you think about that Uther pickup? For me, it yells, hey, we want to be flexible. And if Tassadar is up and still available, then we can grip that later. Tassadar will get banned out, but the idea here is, at least with Dahaka, you can run the solo Uther and get another tank.
Yeah, definitely true. I think Uther is absolutely fine. You can protect Vala with him quite a lot. It's for me interesting what they're going to ban. They go for Malthael as their ban, okay, so for the solo lane. But I think Uther as a pick is absolutely fine. We've seen a few nerfs, but if Rhaegar is already taken away from you, Uther is still an absolutely fantastic option. And we have also had a lot of double support composition for the good guys. Not quite sure if you're really worried about Uther plus Rhaegar being picked so that they have a Divine Shield and then just full 2 damage dealers. But overall, I think Uther is absolutely okay, yeah.
All right, well, Team Good Guys thinking about the 3rd and 4th pickup. What will they move into for their damage dealer?
I mean, they have played a lot with Lunara. Still an option for them for raid boss. We have seen them. For me, the interesting part is what is especially anti-hero going to take.
Yeah.
Are we going to see some Sonya play, for example? Is it going to be an Illidan composition, considering that already the cooldown was, of course, nerfed quite a bit on the Hunt? We have Arthur's taken, so most likely we'll have BKB and ETC, anti-hero on Arthur's, and then we have Auriel and Rhaegar, and would expect that we are still waiting for raid boss to pick his hero then towards the end, and that brings us back to Lunara, which I could have seen them take now already, but considering that the Ducks already have Vala, it's kind of unlikely that they are going to play with Vala and Lunara.
Anti running a lot of Arthas lately, man. Really enjoying that hero. It feels like using that for the side soak, but coming in for the flanks, which I think is what is really needed for this team. They really need to have masterful flanks there to be really effective in the team fights. That way you get the engage you want from BKB. And Arthas really does that well for them, so it's paying off, but will it get them wins over the playing Ducks? That is always the question.
Yeah, for the Ducks, now here's the thing. I would expect a Lunara for Team Good Guys. We still have Greymane available, and there is also, of course, Johanna that the Ducks could take if they're going to try and play maybe around the blind, which they opt to not do. They instead go for Nubarak, and they also add Stukov. So we have Uther with a second support, a lot of utility thanks to the silence, which is actually great against also Arthur's, of course, that we have here.
Good against Arthas and ETC.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Auriel too, if you think that there's a spot where the Aegis might come off, you drop that silence. Very quick to pull off, so Stukov is going to be actually pretty good against Team Good Guys if he can play safe and make sure not to get picked off, which is something typical that you should be doing as a support.
I would definitely expect a lurking arm build. And they go Cassia. Okay, so Cassia over potential Lunara play here that I expected them more to head into. It's a pretty frontline heavy setup overall, I'd say, with Rhaegar now in here too.
Cassia does trade pretty well into Vala, so I think see the reasoning behind it. You get a decent early game too, and you shut down the strength of what Vala brings to the field.
Stukov on Shrine fights worries me a little bit when they head into that.
Because of the chokes that he can control?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have good choke control with Stukov. You can use the silence there, and especially as the game progresses and you pick up your 13, it might become a bit of a problem when they're trying to move into that. As long as they position themselves well, it should be fine. I mean, overall, I actually like what they have here. But they need to be like this. If you engage into a fight, you have to go in. You can't move out of it. You have very little that you can do to achieve that, to get away, especially if a Dahaka chases you together with an Nubarak and you have stuns available. 16 on Vala is most likely going to give us Frost Shot. So when they commit, they commit.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing we're going to say about Team Good Guys is that when they do commit, they definitely go in on it. Sometimes it costs them a hero or two, but they are willing to force fights. And Cassia is really kind of bolstering that, making sure that they do go for those fights around the Inferno Shrine. They have the Arthas flank coming in, ETC getting that power slide in. And if a silence comes down in a weird spot where they feel like they can push through as a unit, if they push through the 3 to 4 people and try to get on that back line, it should be good for them. But I am worried about the youth. They're dropping down the stuns, the Anubrak and Pale, making it harder and harder for them to get those engages.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like we're ready, actually. Game number 1. Let's go ahead and start it. Hold that point 1 quick. Let's go ahead and do it here. We're going to go into Inferno Shrines here. Game 1, as Team Good Guys will be facing off against the Playing Ducks.
So game 1, starting up, we have our opening map from the Good Guys versus the Ducks, and Kronos here on Auriel with Xay on Cassia for the Good Guys to the left side of the map. BKB plays ETC. We have anti-hero on Arthas once again, and of course, last but not least, Raid Boss now on Rhaegar.
Playing Ducks on the right side in the red. Wolf Joe playing Uther. Sport Billy on the Stukov. Nande on Anubrak. Chris on Vala. And Eternal playing Dahaka.
We have Sport Billy in this case now once again on Stukov, as you also already pointed out. So with Chris now on Vala, we still have him heading into Manticore as a level 1 talent. On this map, the extra AoE makes a bit more sense for you. But already like an aggressive setup here for sure from the good guys with that Cassia pick that we just saw. So they need to make sure that they also get the damage in with Arthurs. And ideally, of course, you want to also drop a mosh pit. The big problem is you have so many potential interrupts already on the side of the Ducks that I really expect instead to see stage dive taken by HGC.
We'll see if that stage dive does get picked up. Well, not BKB, you're going to hold on that bottom side, but Arthas already to the top lane. Arthas against Ahaka is actually an interesting matchup.
That's the one thing that's interesting to me, because normally what you're seeing is BKB being the main tank, and I think that's what they're trying to do. And when that's the case, then you would rather head into Mosh Pit. But there's so many interrupts on the side of the Ducks that I'm not quite sure if I would really commit to it. You have Nuburak, which in itself is already a big problem. You can see still Uther, depending on his choice. Vala could go Rain of Vengeance. You have the Silence on the side of Stukov. So there's quite a few tools that we have on the side of the Ducks to definitely thwart that idea.
And it's quite the juggle to figure out what you want to do there. I mean, if you do have the Mosh Pit still available and you force them to hold back some of their disruptions, and suddenly your Aegis gets a little bit easier to pull off, your Ancestor Healing from the Rhaegar, is definitely a trade-off that Team Good Guys will have to think about when they get towards that level 10. For now, they are setting big game on a Thurnal. They hit the Howling Blast. He burrows, and he may get caught, but BKB actually misses out on the power slide. Luckily, Cronus comes in with the Detainment Strike.
That poor little dinosaur there, getting completely wrecked, extinct once again. They Haka down, and that was a pretty heavy gank that they had there.
Yeah.
That actually makes them miss out some experience in the mid lane even, because we are currently seeing a wave pushing into the towers in the middle of the map already, and no matter how fast we are seeing the good guys rotate down, they're going to miss out on a few. Now, the good thing for them is the hero they just killed was the solo laner on the side of the Ducks, so therefore there's definitely going to be some experience missed for the opponent's team as well.
And it did look like Thurnal also uses Essence there too, which makes it a little bit more difficult for him to come back to the fight. He wants to be able to get that Essence back, or if he brushes in before he has it, if it does become more difficult to dive that back line, get the engage that you want, so he could be picked off. So a big gank actually here for Team Good Guys. Now, it looks like we have a little bit of some lag issue here. We're going to go ahead and get that checked out, and we'll be back in.
Yeah, and currently also another thing when we're talking a little bit about talents, for example, we have seen Block Party taken for ETC, and one of the main reasons, as we've been highlighting Prog a lot, is they have already 2 supports. You don't really need that extra
Overkill.
heal in that. Exactly. Especially since you're going up against Vala. So with those auto attacks that she can deliver, it makes sense that you are trying to just help out the team with that additional block.
Yeah, they're trying their best just to mitigate Vala as much as possible. She's the main damage dealer here on the opposing team, because getting the block even on the Arthas for the level 1. The Block Party also is great against Stukov if he ever does step up forward and tries to go for the aggressive plays. Remember, he hits pretty darn hard, so being able to mitigate that is always great for the team. So Block Party, block being picked up, and it's all about Cassie getting in there and bringing that damage in.
Yeah, ETC, the party animal. So I think we're actually getting ready again to jump into the game. And again, our apologies for the inconvenience, but of course we want to make sure that the players are ready. This game is super important for both teams. As we jump back into our match on Infernal Shrines, just a reminder, it's the first map in our best of 5 series here at the HGC Europe.
And we're resuming after a Thurnal gets caught up in the top lane. Already, there is a shrine spawning to the very bottom here, which will be activating for our teams. Team Good Guys are showing interest in going in for the engage as BKB leads the charge here with Zay on the side. Now, the idea for Team Good Guys, they want to make sure they're in the middle of the shrine. They don't want to be in a spot where Stukov is able to silence the area where a choke is very important for them to get in for the fight. So you're seeing Zay position a little bit more aggressively, while BKB is holding a different angle to make it harder for Sport Billy to be effective on the Stukov.
Also, level 4 talents have now dropped for both teams, and we see the multi-shot hybrid build that we've been mentioning a bit earlier now. And immediately that silence being a huge deterrent here from the good guys. So Sport Billy Stukov is going to have a huge impact on all of the shrine fights that we're seeing. Both of the teams heavily committed to the objective, by the way. No side soak happening now for either team, not even with the Eternal on the Haka.
Team Good Guys really doing well here, 30-24, but the Playing Ducks are catching up. Their positioning is much better, it looks like, as they get a nice little concave set up. They turn around and look at Arthas, get him low, but BKB uses the angle to go in for a power slide. Well, they turn around, they focus Nande.
They go for BKB at the same time now, though he's low, but the Immortal, the Punisher, goes over to the good guys. BKB barely surviving here, kept alive by the double support, and now with that Punisher, the good guys are going to try and make their play for the first fort in the game. Rega, in the meantime, trying to mirror the rotation of the Haka, who immediately starting to move towards the middle. And now there's a big engage as we see the sidewall coming down, and Good Guys aggressively pushing past the towers.
They are. They're getting the turrets burned down. Already looking at a fort 2, putting some damage there. The Punisher is getting low, but with a big jump in, we might have another engage. BKB with the power slide, and there's going to be a takedown on Uther.
That was a really nice comment that we just saw there. Nice lockdown from the Good Guys as they did destroy Uther. But now, look at Stukov. There we have ETC falling. Well done with the silence. And that definitely took down the cow. So BKB down. But overall, still a win for the Good Guys. They get a slight lead in experience and they're able to break through the wall and nearly drop the fort.
Yep, getting that 4 low. Great for later on. Can use that ETC if he does decide to go into stage dive and echo pedal to start working on that bottom side, pull the Haka's tension away. Now, Ariel being in this mix-up, this is a spot where Ariel can be very solid here. Hang on real quick though. Anti's coming in for a big flank. He misses out on the Howling Blast, which may result in playing Ducks getting away from the escape, especially with Sport Billy coming in. He applies a slow, and Zay seems to be the target.
Yeah, they're trying to go in again, but the silences. Cassia falling down. Great play here. And of course, the attempt to make it a double as Antihero is being attacked, but Arthurs is able to move out. It looked like a really good approach with Antihero, unfortunately, at the beginning of the fight, missing out on the Howling Blast lockdown against Vala. I think they could have made a play and taken her down, but then the turnaround as the Ducks play really well around that silence that Stukov provides in these fights.
Now back to the point I was trying to make here. Why is Ariel actually a good pick here? Well, first off, you have Cassia to be your battery, but look at the composition. It's kind of melee heavy for Team Good Guys. That's because she has a whip. That's very important when picking my heroes. What kind of attachments do they have when they're going for auto attacks? Hang on, though. Sport Billy might be in trouble. Howling Blast goes in. He's able to get away, and Chris turns around and brings out those auto attacks. Wolf Joe also getting low, and Team Good Guys will survive.
Wolf Joe gets body blocked there quite a lot as the Good Guys pick up another kill. Now ahead with 3-2 in a very aggressive game. But you were talking about Oriel and what she brings to the table.
Being completely grouped up here, Arthas and ETC are going to be together naturally here, so you will get value out of your Hope being chunked in. You're going to have an amazing generator here with the Cassia coming in and bringing out the Hope. And since you naturally stack up, you want to be able to drop that big, massive AoE and get a lot of healing popping out for your team. The problem is playing Ducks does have multi-shot and they have the massive silence, so there are counters that are available for them. So Team Good Guys have to be aware of that. But if they can play around those two, they have a really good moment here to where they can group up and keep forcing fights. And that's why you see them chasing down their opponent and trying to look for those Howling Blasts.
And talking about moments, Raidbus has a pretty bad one down at the bot lane against not only the Haka, but also a camp that is pushing. To an extent where he even wants to rotate out, but he gets actually interrupted in the rotation, is able to escape because the playing Ducks are currently just busy at those camps, taking them away. They realize that they will have a very rough time winning the Punisher fight, winning the fight on the Shrine, so they moved back for now and focused on camps instead. They are even had an experience, but of course the Good Guys are now going to try and negate that by taking down the towers and maybe even the fort.
Yep, looking for those towers, maybe a follow-up for a Howling Blast. But ETC peeling off now at level 7 with the Echo Pedal. They're going to play a little bit more safer, but Nana takes the opportunity to go in for a hard engage, and they find a Zay. Zay is low on health, he gets chunked down, and he will be dispersed of.
Yeah, Zay didn't stand a chance there. He just got completely isolated from the rest of the team, trying to escape to bottom, but all of a sudden being surrounded by 4 opponents. And now the Ducks are about to hit level 10, so they have a slightly faster heroic ability than their opponent. And immediately attempt to, they could try and use that at least. At the top, ETC still finds himself in position against the Haka, pushing the lane back. Not really any big surprises either when we're talking about heroic choices here. We're having stage dive now taken for ETC as the Good Guys also reach the heroics.
That they do. Ancestor Healing, Stage Dive, Ages. Going to be having the Army of the Dead as well here for Team Good Guys. Now they're grouping up for another push once again in the top. They realize that Stukov is in the bottom defending. Can they find someone to pick? They find a new Barak, but he'll easily just burrow charge away.
Yeah, and Arthas is actually double-checking what's happening towards the camp on the top right side. So he wants to see if the Shaman camp is maybe taken. Sport Billy is now moving in, and Eternal and the boys were for a moment even thinking about chasing. They're actually continuing even to chase. Nanda definitely tempted to drop a cocoon and go for an isolation kill, but that hasn't happened so far. Overall, it's just really a game on even footing right now. I'm really loving it. Both of the teams know there's a lot on the line. They are both trying to avoid the Crucible, and the Ducks and Good Guys are both now in a situation where they are focusing super hard to make sure that they're not making any mistakes that could cost them the map.
Only game number 1, but looking like an even matchup, which always gets me excited. It means we could get all 5 games here in this best of 5 series.
We had a lot of those actually already this phase.
Yeah, we sure have.
A lot of 5 members.
Yeah, yesterday was a bit of an anomaly with the 2-3-0s. Was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, me neither. It was actually really interesting. I think the weekend before, we had so many 5-mappers. It was pretty cool and like really back and forth games. Yesterday was a bit more dominant by the teams that decided to see it in their favor. But already heading into this one, this looks like a pretty close call.
Anti in the front line, realizing people are missing, he will be the target to be engaged upon, but he's okay with that as he is. Artisan has 2 supports to back him up, while ETC's in the top lane working in that Echo Pedal. Now it's all about the Punisher on the bottom side, and both teams want this Punisher, with it being an Arcane Punisher, so we should be seeing ETC and Dahaka rotate down at some point.
Yeah, they will use their globals to move in for this one. Silence being used straight away. Anti-hero already dropping a lot of hit points, but he still holds on to the Army of the Dead for now, and of course, he has that self-sustain, and with the double support, it's not an issue. He's still on that try. Nice Taman strike against Nande. Stage dive comes in, Cocoon already used, and slap as Stukov goes straight in and pushes everybody out.
But the Cocoon getting utilized will be allowing Team Good Guys to actually fight this in a straight 5-on-5. BKB will get hit with the drag, but with the Cleanse coming out and Ancestral Healing, he will survive. A bit early on the Ancestral Healing, but I can see why they utilized it. 31-18. Team Good Guys have fought back here pretty well with a big power slide going in, and Chris is the target.
Isolation on Xay, but it's already over as he's trying to move in once again. BKB could still flank from the side. The Arcane Punisher has already been taken by the Good Guys as they start to push forward. Nice Howling Blast on Eternal, but he's ready with an immediate burrow and negates it. The Ducks are close to 13, but we already have the Good Guys moving through the bot lane. And as you can tell, the forward isn't even an obstacle. Immediately down as Harega rotated top to deal with the Shaman camp, which should also drop level 13 into the hands of the Good Guys, a talent that the Ducks have already grabbed.
Team Good Guys getting the first fort of the game. They're moving in for a keep wall. The Punisher should be charging forward, jumps right on top of Stukov, but Cleanse actually being utilized just to make sure he's going to get killed off. But Nande comes in with a big flank. They're looking for Ariel here as Kronez is the target. He'll have to use Aegis.
Once again, anti-hero, they're trying to go for him. We had Cocoon used, but blown away. Going for Nande. The Punisher is still there, and he jumps back in, gets the double stun. BKB is back to business with another stage dive, and then a Taman strike into the wall, nearly dropping Uther, but the Divine Shield keeps him alive.
Wolf Jaw to save a life, but Nande gets picked up by the Punisher.
That just feels bad. Arcane Sentry is the nightmare of every Diablo 3 player, and now it killed the Beetle as well.
That was the day that I quit playing hardcore, actually. I lagged out and died to one of those, and that was it. Done.
Yeah.
Those things hurt, man.
You're a little bit of a wuss. I mean, that's not when you drop hardcore.
I was level 22! I put so much effort.
Me?
No, I'm not kidding
you. It takes me 10 seconds to get you to level 22.
I know, man, but I started from the ground up. I played with Cloakin. We were going in.
That's your first mistake, right? no, I'm just kidding.
Cloakin tried to carry me, man, and it lagged out. I came back, and I lost my hardcore character, and I was done.
Dude, like, I don't know if I should be embarrassed or being like, that's cute.
I think cute is good. I like that.
You want me to carry you a little bit and we play hardcore together? We can still make that happen. The offer stands.
I'm down. I mean, I already have my Malthael mount. That's all that really matters.
All right.
Well, Team
That's
Good
fair.
Guys, 14-13.
Bottom line, Arcane Sentries are bad.
That's the point we were trying to make through all of that.
that little rant had actually a point. You might not believe it, but yes, Arcane Sentries are strong, and they caused the death of a Nubarak.
Sport Billy almost running into death there, but dodges out on the Howling Blast there, staying on top of his mount, will be able to survive while HGC's back to doing the top lane thing here against Dahaka. And this is why a global is so important and so strong in the meta right now. Look at the experience. While we have a fort already down, both of our teams are staying neck and neck because they have the Dahaka, they have the EDC to make sure they're soaking. Being a sponge in this game is probably one of the best ways for you to actually keep you and your team in the game.
As long as you join the team fights. That's one of the most important things. We all had that guy in our game that after he's being useless for 20 minutes, all of a sudden says, look at my siege damage. And it's like, yeah, okay. No, but jokes aside, ETC's stage dive these days and his importance is perfectly shown here. He's the one who mirrors Dahaka's movements on the map, and both of those are, of course, always joining the team fight. So whenever you see, hey, the team is starting to really engage into those fights, they're committing to the battle, that's when you want to join. We've seen BKB just stage dive twice, immediately back to back, basically, whenever the cooldown was ready in those fights. And now as the fight over the shrine, up at the top lane, starts up again. That's exactly what we can expect. The rotation has happened. ETC and Dehaka are both at the bot lane now, and once this is going down, they are both going to engage in.
Yeah, this is actually really important for those offlaners to learn how to identify when you come in. Eternal's coming in right now because they have someone that may be caught in a choke here, and they find the Ario for a second, but we do have the big sounds coming out, and if he can't heal himself, finally Ancestral Healing pops out, he's able to walk away, and BKB with the big stage dive coming in from the side, Eternal gets taken out.
Eternal down, and the fight isn't over yet. They're trying to see if they can get a second kill. So far, that hasn't happened, especially with Cocoon being utilized. But that was a great start into the fight for the good guys. Not only the stage dive of BKB, but also after the Haka came in, he's looking for the drag, and Oriel immediately whipped him into the wall. The Tame strike, so he had no chance to connect it right away. It was a very good silence, though, that we saw from Stukov afterwards. That nearly killed Antihero.
Yep, stopping the Omni Dead from being proc there to heal up. They were forced to use the Ancestral Healing, but it worked out just great with ETC coming in. And all of the Punishers so far have gone into the favor of the good guys, and they'll take this Punisher and start working on a fort in the top lane.
Now, their fort at the bot lane is being pressured by a double minion wave now, and will definitely take a bit of damage. But this push up at the top, this is the one that really matters. This is where they are trying to get more than only the fort. The fort here is more or less guaranteed, but ideally they, of course, would open the wall towards the keep to make it vulnerable.
Yep, they're looking to try and reduce the amount of room on the field here for the playing Ducks, and doing the fort being taken off and the keep wall being opened up gives them moments to where if they get a couple kills or two, they can push for more and try to grab that keep. That's why they're taking this. Nade on the side is flanking around and dropping the impales, but Team Good Guys, as long as they keep Zay alive, that Cassia, they should be fine.
Yeah, also important to note, you've probably already picked up on it, but if you're wondering why exactly, oh well, let's wait a second, because there looks like Nanda is actually thinking about stopping them here. There's the silence as Stukov puts it in. We have now Vala, not with Frostshot in 16, but instead going for the auto attack damage and not chasing too hard. Okay, so I'm coming back to the point that I originally wanted to make. You probably picked up already on the fact that a lot of these teams that we've seen today kill one of those small side walls whenever they engage, especially with the Punisher. And the reason is pretty simple. If you open the side wall, you can pass, you go and walk past the towers when the Punisher jumps over the wall and gets the stun in. And if you can follow up on the stun of the Punisher, you are very likely to get a kill. So there's always that potential. This is why the teams don't immediately barrel through the gate or try to take the towers down, but why oftentimes one or two of the heroes are committed to take a sidewall apart. So once the bait happens and the stun procs, you can attempt to follow it up with an ETC slide, with maybe a Howling Blast, get a kill, and then get even more value out of your Punisher.
And why the sidewall? It's the lowest health bar that is on the wall, the easiest route to actually getting into the fight. Anti-hero taking some pressure on the side here, will be able to walk away while BKB goes in for the engage. He finds a power slide on Uther, who will use his Divine Shield to turn around. Here's the Eternal with the Brush Stalker, looking for a fight. Cocoon has been utilized. Will Zay be able to burn it down? He does, and playing Ducks will have to back up.
The one thing that really is the big change in pace, or the big game changer for the Ducks, is really that silence. Stukov every single time with these silences, because overall, good guys are looking so much better in these fights. Outside of being annoyed by the silence and sometimes not being able to either drop a heal or move out with one of their escape tools, it really feels as if the good guys always get the superior approach to every single team fight. You see the Haka coming in, the reaction is instantaneous. We see either a lockdown against him or a detainment strike, and then with a power slide and a Howling Blast, the good guys lock a target down and try to drop the damage with Cassia, oftentimes forcing the Divine Shield or forcing Stukov to go straight in with a flail. And when he starts to just slap them away, that's usually when you see also the playing Ducks moving out, because they realize, guys, this is not really working out for us. We can't really approach into this. We have to wait for our cooldowns to be ready again.
I am concerned though when 20 does hit, that Vala, that level 20 Farflight Quiver coming online will allow for her to poke a little bit easier, working those mana cores and start to break down their opponents. But for now, Team Good Guys are playing a little bit more clean over their opponents. Shield of Hope will be alive for Ariel at that 22, so there are some things that they will be able to use to mitigate that Vala. But for now, it's all about the Punisher. Can they get it? Silence comes out. Zay on the left side, keeping when he can. 23-16 for our teams.
Great coordination also with Anti-Hero zoning and being so far out the entire at time. This time going to Army of the Dead. Once again, the plays are hitting as we're seeing immediately them turning on ETC. And what a save here on the cow. We have ETC going in against Uther now. The Divine Shield's being dropped. Once again, the Aura Hills, as we have no one dying on the side of the good guys, but with a ball of lightning, kill after kill being confirmed. Uther down, so is Anubrak. They're turning on Vala, drop her, and it's Eternal who dies last. Only Stukov walking out of that fight alive on the side of the Ducks. What a battle by the good guys.
That it was. Raid Boss and Kronas need to be shouted out there. The amazing Ancestor healing into the ages to make sure that BKB could stay alive. And still, even with that happen, Playing Ducks almost burned through ETC twice. But still, ETC barely getting away from the fight. They clear up the Playing Ducks, taking out 4 members, looking for a 5th here with Sport Billion on the side. And the Punisher will continue to move forward as the core is the eye of the prize.
20 is on the board for the good guys. 10 seconds for Uther to come back, and the Ducks are losing hit points down to 50, down to 40. The Ducks are losing game number 1 as the good guys are moving in for the kill and confirm a victory on Infernal Shrines.
That's right, Team Good Guys getting with the first victory, and man, did they look very clean in that fight.
What really impressed me the most in every single Shrine fight that we saw so far was Antihero on Arthur's pushed so far out every time. He was in the middle of 3 to 4 heroes alone on the Shrine, where everybody else was simply positioned to the side, trying to make sure that he didn't die. So he was extremely patient with his Legion, with his army, and everyone else was just attempting, okay, keep him alive, the double support is there, he alone already has the presence that he can get a lot of these minions, and then later on ETC comes jumping in. But what always happened, every single time, is we see a pretty good silence on the side of Stukov, trying to isolate the 2 healers so that Antihero is vulnerable. Once that happens, the rest of the Ducks are starting to move in and try to collapse on him. But every time the silence goes down, there's 2 things that happen. The first thing is immediately both of the healers try to move away from the silence, still in the position where they're close to Antihero, and Arthur's moves immediately out. There was so much like really good communication and coordination between them that even with him dropping to 30% HP, for example, he never really felt afraid enough to drop his own ult and always waited for the main engagement to happen. And then, of course, the 2 healers with very good communication here. On the one hand, you expect it, but on the other hand, that save that you pointed out with ETC, that was just fantastic, because if you have a double healer with these panic buttons, you oftentimes see both of them just throwing them in, missing out a little bit on the coordination, and this was just absolutely perfect. Ancestral animation is there, and then they realize, guys, it's not enough, we need more.
I mean, let's check it out right now.
Oh, we have it?
We actually have
Let's
the
go.
replay here to check out the fight. So look at the stage that comes in, and look how well the Playing Ducks turn around to focus BKB. The slat that knocked back the supports, the cocoon on top of the Ariel here on the left side. So Raid Boss sees that ETC is getting low, drops the Ancestor healing, and Kronos comes out, drops the Aegis to make sure the heal goes off. And at that point, the Playing Ducks are like, oh no. How are we going to win this team fight? Divine Shield used on the Uther on the side here. BKB gets hit once again, but a heal comes out. Able to get a cleanse there from Raid Boss as well. Gets away from the fight, and this is where Zay and Antihero just go in and go to town.
Yeah, they did so well here. Even the isolation has hit ETC, so he couldn't really do anything here. Everything was committed to him, and that was just a great cleanup job. And for me, it comes down to the heavy control that we had through Arthas and through ETC in every single fight. They kept the supports extremely safe, and even that silence that was so well done, again highlighting how well Sport Billy played around the lurking arm, but it just wasn't enough to break the concentration of the good guys. So we have a very close game. In the end, it's the good guys that walk away with a victory, but it's only the first map. So we have a lead for them, but this series is not over by any means.
It's not over, and it's going to hinge on the tank players here for both of our teams. Go ahead and take a player comparison and look at them both here. BKB and Nande. BKB, a little bit more on the takedowns. BKB is one of these tank players that wants to go in for the aggressive plays. He wants to force these fights, and right now, the stats do reflect that. A little bit more on the takedowns, but a little bit more on the deaths.
Yeah, exactly. BKB he's someone who really likes to make flashy plays, and oftentimes confirms a kill for them, but it also ends up with him sometimes overextending and them being the focus target and the one that dies. So there's definitely a trade-off that we see. Nanda is a bit more on the passive side, not quite as aggressive as BKB, which results in a lower takedown stat, but also in lower deaths for his team. And it's also mirrored, of course, in the kill participation itself.
Yeah, and do remember that Nande did switch roles here in Season 2 here to make sure that he can sit in for the tank. He was an offlaner, so that CG damage is a little bit higher too. He used to play a lot of the Dahakas and such, but now he is the main main tank for the Playing Ducks, and I would say he's actually fit in pretty darn well. When switching roles, sometimes you have those moments where you kind of miss out on the opportunities, but so far, Nane's been doing pretty well for the Ducks.
Yeah, he definitely has. But they still they seem to have this one problem where they just can't confirm victories, and that was again true on the last map. Now, as we said before, the series is still ongoing. We've only seen the first map. But they need to make something happen here. They really, I have to stress it again, they cannot afford a loss here. As Chris has put it, if they lose here, they have to start researching open division teams, because the chances of them being in the Crucible after a potential loss today would be gigantic.
Well, it's time for game numero dos here, as we'll go ahead and get ready for the second map. It's going to be Dragonshire there, Team Good Guys with the pick.